Hello, and welcome to my table for tea and a chat. And no, I'm not an AI. In my cup, I have a tisane, an herbal tea blend which I've ground into a fine powder. What? Grind tea? Have you considered how the Japanese drink matcha? They create it in suspension and then use a special whisk all the way through the drinking process to keep it in suspension. As a result, they end up drinking the entire cup of tea. I encourage all of my clients to grind their tea, sometimes twice, and then to drink the sludge in the bottom of the cup. In a world where we all could use a little extra fiber, your microbiome will consider it a welcome addition, a mini microsalad, as it were, and we could all use more fiber. Tea can be made from green, black, white, or smoked tea leaves. Regardless of the growing, harvesting, and drying process, all teas come from the same plant, Camellia sinensis. Tea can be combined with fruits, flowers, spices, chocolate, nuts, or even aromatic herbs. An herbal tea, or tisane, is a drink obtained by maceration, infusion, or decoction in water from plants often having medicinal properties. Thanks to its plant extracts, an herbal tea or tisane is often recognized for its medicinal and phytotherapeutic properties. For example, chamomile tea can be used to reduce sleep disorders, thyme tea to treat colds or digestive problems, while sage tea can help alleviate hot flashes. Why I hate being on camera. Just before my mother was born, my grandmother had to have a lot of her teeth pulled. When my mother was actually born, the first thing she asked the doctor was if my mother had a cleft palate. The doctor said no, but she does have odd dents in her gums where you had your teeth pulled. When my mother grew older, her teeth began to fall out of her mouth from periodontal disease in exactly the same way as had happened to my grandmother. I am 76 years old. I have never had a cavity or a filling, but now my teeth are also falling out of my mouth from my dentition disintegrating in exactly the same places as my mother and grandmother. My top teeth are also chipping off, and I cut my lip in my sleep and when I talk. This is why I am loath to appear on camera. Lipedema, a rare adipose disease, RAD. Lipedema is a chronic medical condition that primarily affects women, characterized by bilateral, symmetrical buildup of adipose tissue, fat, in the legs and sometimes the arms and lower trunk. A common but underdiagnosed disorder, lipedema may cause pain, tenderness, swelling, and easy bruising. 11% of women worldwide suffer. In Germany, probably 1 in 10 women suffers from it. In general, Caucasian women in Europe are particularly affected. In Asia, on the other hand, lipedema is hardly known at all, and there is a special form in African women. Lymphedema is not the same as lipedema. Lymphedema is a chronic condition characterized by swelling caused from a buildup of lymph fluid in the tissues. Lymphedema occurs when the lymphatic system, a network of vessels and nodes that drains excess fluid from tissue, becomes damaged or blocked. This can be caused by cancer treatment, surgery, radiation and therapy, chemotherapy, infections, trauma, obesity, congenital malformations. Lipedema is a long-term condition that causes abnormal fat buildup in the lower part of the body. Lipedema most often involves your butt, thighs, and calves. Some people have it in their hips or upper arms. It doesn't affect your hands or your feet. Excess bleeding during or after lipedema liposuction surgery is a potential risk, often due to the presence of varicosities and leaking blood vessels in lipedema patients. but can be mitigated with proper preoperative assessment and treatment. I am way too old to care any longer how I might appear to others. I eat right, exercise when I can, and choose not to undergo the surgeon's knife. Instead, I use herbal teas and compression leg sleeves with a pneumatic pump, involving hours of downtime, either sitting up in bed or lying down. Which is why I am so looking forward to having a chaise longue in the garden upon which to lie with my legs up against the back in the healing rays of the sun. And my dream is to have a meridian in my bedroom so I can sit up to do my treatment without being limited to staying in bed. Believe me, that is most inconvenient when someone knocks on the door. So aside from walking and working in the garden, which is a treatment in itself, a walking tour of the village is on the agenda this Thursday, per request of my viewers. Now let's discuss priorities. I have spent the last 18 months collecting tools to begin working outside, but there are many more that I need to get. One of my commenters suggested a wish list at Amazon that my supporters could choose to purchase tools for me. You will find a link to that tool wish list in the description down below. And this proverb is why my priority is the garden. My roof doesn't leak. My walls, although not pretty, are not falling down. So I choose to expend my energies on my garden first. I purchased these tools to clear the paths, but the handles supplied were a joke. Tomorrow I'm going to Mr. Bricolage in Guéret to get some better handles, some potting soil, and plants for my window boxes to apply some curb appeal. I purchased a new stirrup hoe, also known as a scuffle or loop hoe, a gardening tool designed for weeding and cultivating the soil. It gets its name from the stirrup-like shape of its blade, which is typically a flat, rectangular loop that oscillates back and forth as you push and pull it through the soil. This action slices through weeds just below the soil surface, cutting them off at the roots and preventing regrowth. It was my mother's favorite weeding tool. I also bought a leaf rake, and although I won't have much leaves to rake, I can use this in the forest to get leaf mold and duff to bring home for the brown layers in my compost pile. A garden rake used to level was my next purchase. Now for the best part. One of my viewers drew my attention to Charlemagne's or Karlsgarten in Aachen, Germany, that contains all of the plants from the Capitular de Villas. Another view of the Karlsgarten. The boxwood or buis hedges separate plants, and within the beds enclose a seating area in the back. Various extracts and perfumes were formerly made from the bark of buis or box. The leaves also had a medicinal purpose. Although in the past boxwood has had many purposes, these days it is used mainly in gardening as shrubbery or in bonsai. The Chateau de Chamerolles long potager garden beds are the inspiration for my garden space, based on its long rectangular shape. This diagram of my garden is not to scale, and will be redrawn once I discover how many meters long and wide it actually is by clearing the paths 1 meter at a time. Realistically, it will take all summer long to dig out the paths and pile the digouts on the beds. I will build the beds in the lasagna technique, layers of cardboard over extant vegetation to smother it out, then the digouts from the paths, manure, compost, and straw. If I have the funds and the time, I will then cover each bed with black plastic to hasten the decomposition and turning of the piles into great garden soil. My raised bed should be ready for the fall to plant trees and bushes in both September and October. I'll have a water feature or pond or catchment at the end of the rain spout, at the end of the remise, or maybe a duck pond. There is also a sundial and one or possibly two parterres planned with lavenders. Columnar fruit trees offer several benefits, including space-saving compact growth, ease of maintenance, and mineral pruning, the ability to grow in containers or small gardens while still producing a good yield of fruit. The compact and conical growth habits of these trees will allow me to take advantage of underplanting with flowers and smaller edibles to fully utilize my garden layout, in addition to all of the espaliers along the south-facing fruit wall. Clugnat's hardiness zones in relation to the USDA zones. But before I actually get out the door and into the garden, I will need to make a shopping trip. Absolute must-haves are some garden gloves and garden clogs, because once I start exposing the soil in the path areas, there will be a lot of dirt and mud I won't want to track into the house. In my next video, I'll be painting the front door, filling in my window boxes with soil and flowers, and creating some curb appeal. I will also unveil a surprise. A walking tour of the village is also on tap. Poor comments on requests. Be sure and ask for my hearth cooking guide when you sign up for my newsletter, and check my tool wish list in the description below. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe. A bientôt.